of the Union address before Congress Tuesday night. At 1 hour and 48 minutes, it was the longest State of the Union in recent history. President Trump ignored the challenges people are facing with the economy and instead touted the stock market and lower gas prices. Before Trump's speech, Democratic Congressmember Al Green of Texas held up a sign that read, "Black people aren't apes," referring to President Trump posting a racist video depicting former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama as apes. Congressmember Green was removed from the chamber. During the speech, President Trump repeatedly referred to immigrants as illegal aliens and commanded lawmakers to stand up if they agreed with his violent immigration crackdown. Democratic lawmakers refused. After Republican applause, Minnesota Congressmember Ilhan Omar shouted at President Trump, accusing him of killing U.S. citizens with his immigration policies.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
That was Congressmember Ilhan Omar shouting, "You're the murderer. You have killed Americans." After the speech, Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger, a former CIA officer, gave the Democrats' response. She criticized President Trump for the cost of living and for his attacks on immigrants.
They have ripped nursing mothers away from their babies. They have sent children, a little boy in a blue bunny hat. Children to far-off detention centers, and they have killed American citizens in our streets. And they have done it all with their faces masked from accountability.
Roughly half of all Democratic lawmakers skipped the State of the Union last night, as well as a majority of justices on the Supreme Court. Several Democratic lawmakers attended a People's State of the Union at the National Mall, including Senators Chris Murphy, Chris Van Hollen, and Ruben Gallego. This is Connecticut's Senator Murphy.
The true State of the Union is this. This union is in crisis right now. Our cities are under attack by lawless law enforcement. Our democracy is wilting under ceaseless attack from a president who wants to be a despot. Millions of Americans are losing their health care because the president has chosen corruption to pad the pockets of his billionaire friends instead of helping average Americans. You're not going to hear any of that in that speech tonight.
We'll have more on President Trump's State of the Union for the whole show after headlines. We'll get response from Democratic Congress members Summer Lee and Adelita Grijalva, who represents Tucson, Arizona, on the border. Several Republican lawmakers are calling on GOP Congressmember Tony Gonzalez to resign amidst allegations he had an affair with a staffer who took her own life by setting herself on fire. Gonzalez is accused of sending sexually explicit text messages in which he asked his staffer, Regina Santos Aviles, to, quote, "send me a sexy pic." After she declined to provide him with a photo, Congressmember Gonzalez then asked about her, quote, favorite position. Congressmembers Thomas Massey of Kentucky, Lauren Boebert of Colorado, Anna Paulina Luna of Florida, and Nancy Mace of South Carolina, and several other Republicans are demanding Gonzalez resign immediately over the allegations. He has refused to step down. The Pentagon's giving the artificial intelligence company Anthropic an ultimatum to allow full access to its models by Friday. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth reportedly told Anthropic's CEO Dario Amodei that the Pentagon is prepared to cancel its $200 million contract with the company and declare Anthropic a supply chain risk, and even invoke the Defense Production Act to force the company to tailor its AI model for the Pentagon. Anthropic has stated it's willing to adapt its policies for the Pentagon, but it won't allow its model to be used for mass surveillance to develop autonomous weapons. A Pentagon official told Axios, quote, "The only reason we're still talking to these people is we need them, and we need them now. The problem for these guys is they are that good," unquote. Anthropic's AI tool, Claude, was reportedly used in the U.S. military's operation to abduct former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Mexico's government has warned of potential legal action against Elon Musk after the tech billionaire falsely linked Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum to drug cartels. Sheinbaum spoke from Mexico City yesterday.
Well, we're considering whether to take some legal action. The lawyers are looking into it. But what matters to me is what the people say, honestly.
Musk's comments came in the aftermath of widespread violence in Mexico between cartels and Mexican forces in response to the killing of Mexico's most wanted drug lord, Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, known as El Mencho. Reuters reports Iran is close to a deal to buy anti-ship cruise missiles from China as the U.S. has deployed warships near the Iranian coast in a military buildup across the region not seen since the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq in 2003. It comes as President Trump's weighing a military strike against Iran over its nuclear program. U.S. and Iranian negotiators.
Your king is playing games. Does that mean you're going to be in my channel today? Maybe? I doubt it. Uno más, dos más, tres más.
Are set to hold indirect talks in Geneva tomorrow. Meanwhile, campus protests in Iran continued for a fourth straight day as demonstrators clashed with pro-government militias.
Interesting. Interesting. What's happening? Oh. Didn't turn red.
It's the first major protest since the Iranian government cracked down on anti-government demonstrations last month, reportedly killing thousands of people.
Is this actual video from there?
On anti-government demonstrations.
Whoa, bro, look at that. They are not fucking holding back. Why did they cut the video?
A whistleblower is claiming that FBI agents were delayed in arriving to major crime scenes, such as the far-right activist Charlie Kirk's assassination, because FBI Director Kash Patel frequently uses the agency's private jets. In a statement, Democratic Senator Dick Durbin said,
"What the fuck?"
Since his confirmation as director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, Kash Patel is seemingly engaged in what amounts to irresponsible joyriding on DOJ and FBI-operated aircraft at the expense of the hockey team and got drunk, and to the detriment of ongoing Bureau operations, unquote. Patel had used an FBI jet to travel to the Milan Olympics to attend the men's hockey final, where he was filmed chugging beer in the U.S. team's locker room.
What the fuck?
The Trump administration
sued
the University of California, alleging UCLA ignored and failed to report complaints of anti-Semitism after pro-Palestinian demonstrations erupted on campus. It follows a previous lawsuit in August when the Trump administration demanded the University of California pay nearly $1.2 billion to settle civil rights investigations into UCLA over complaints of anti-Semitism. The federal government also canceled $584 million in research.
Racist peanut gets more views than me. Guess I should switch. I should become a peanut, huh?
Research grants.
Maybe I turn into a
UCLA
VTuber
last year.
I'll be the only leftist VTuber. That's right. I'll do all my shows in this stupid Trump voice, and you guys will hate me forever. Right, chat?
President Trump's reportedly considering issuing an executive order that would force U.S. banks to collect citizenship information from customers. That's according to the...
Sorry. Yeah, you want to just take... You want to just take a bunch of money out of the bank, don't you? You want the banks to just... No, that'll never happen. Do you realize how much money the banks would lose if... I mean, the banks are already losing a shit ton of money right now. I'll tell you on one thing. I can tell you one place where they're losing a lot of money. Banks are losing a lot of money on fucking marijuana because no one can buy and sell marijuana in anything but cash still. Kind of weird, right?
Wall Street Journal, which reported the measure is under review by the Treasury Department as part of the Trump administration's widespread crackdown on immigrants. Banks at times collect passport and Social Security information from customers, but they've never been charged with verifying a person's citizenship status. There's also no prohibition on U.S. banks opening accounts for non-citizens.
And that is for a reason. Hello? You're new to the country. You can't change the fact that the U.S. has allowed you to work here and you don't have citizenship yet, and you can't bank. Okay, that sounds great. Good idea, guys. Their ideas are so dumb, chat.
Listen. In Sudan, more than 24 people were killed as the paramilitary rapid support forces raided a town in North Darfur. The attack in the town of Musdaria was reported.
That's right. We're taking out the people in Sudan. Sudan! It'll say something about the IQ of the Sudanese is like, that's Trump for you guys.
Reported by Sudan Doctors Network.
Can't believe what he said.
The town's
Can't fucking believe what he said at the State of the Union address about Somalis in front of Ilhan Omar. I can't believe he did that. Actually, I mean, I do believe it. I'm just saying, the fucking gall.
The whole healthcare center was destroyed. At least one medical worker was taken by RSF fighters. The network.
Yeah, and Nick Shirley. Some of the dumbest people get the biggest scopes. You know that? Get the biggest fucking follows, get the most views. It's so stupid. Why do we love dumb people so much?
Said condemning the attack as, quote, a fully fledged crime and a blatant violation of all humanitarian and international laws, unquote. This comes as drone attacks by the RSF and Sudanese army have intensified in the Kordofan region, targeting aid convoys, markets, universities, and healthcare facilities. Kordofan is a highly strategic region of Sudan, rich in gold and oil. Meanwhile, on Monday, Chad closed its eastern border with Sudan following a series of clashes in the region. The BBC has apologized for failing to censor the N-word after a Tourette syndrome campaigner in the audience
That's funny.
Shouted the racial slur at Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo as they presented the award for Best Visual Effects at the BAFTA Awards in London Sunday. The BAFTA Awards are the equivalent of the Oscars.
It's pretty bad, actually.
The BBC
even if it is
Tourette's,
it's pretty bad.
From the broadcast, which aired 2 hours after the live show,
why wouldn't
cutting the phrase "Free Palestine" from an acceptance speech by filmmaker
that's
Akinwumi
fucked
Davis.
up.
They also quote references to President Trump's crackdown in Minneapolis from the acceptance speech of BAFTA-winning filmmaker David Bornstein, co-director of the documentary Mr. Nobody.
Okay, not only are they not doing it live, right? And they're already making it so that it's like not interactive, but they're going to go ahead and like
Putin.
erase certain
Democracy
things.
Now! Tuesday.
Holy shit.
I also, in my speech, compared the importance of resistance in Russia to the importance of resistance in Minneapolis, and that was also taken out of the broadcast.
Yep.
So it seems that a lot of the political speeches were taken out of the broadcast.
The BBC reported another racial slur was edited from the broadcast and that the N-word had aired by mistake.
Whoopsie.
In South Carolina, as the measles outbreak approaches 1,000 reported cases, the state has enlisted the help of public health experts working outside the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has significantly altered the agency's vaccine recommendations and gutted vaccine research. Reuters reports a dozen public health experts are arriving in South Carolina to aid in the measles outbreak, which is the largest in the United States since 1992. 15 states led by Democrats are suing the Trump administration in an effort to reverse a policy by the CDC to reduce the number of vaccines it recommends for children. The lawsuit, announced Tuesday, also names HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and challenges his unlawful replacement of officials, as they put it, from a key vaccine advisory committee.
What the fuck,
This follows
dude?
another lawsuit filed in January.
Meantime,
by
we've got a
several public
measles
health
outbreak.
Groups, including the
Good job.
American Academy of Pediatrics. And in Brazil, at least 30 people have been reported dead as homes were swept away by massive landslides due to torrential rains in the southeastern state of Minas Gerais. A river burst its banks as record rainfall has battered the region, with firefighting crews still searching for about 40 people who remain missing. This is a survivor.
It was terrible. Words can't describe how sad it is.
Aw.
There's nothing to say. Just ask God to find those who survived and to perform a miracle.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.
Huh.
Welcome back. New fallout this morning from the
fuck,
Epstein
bro?
files release. Democrats are
go.
demanding answers after new reporting from MS Now and NPR showing the Justice Department withheld notes and memos concerning a woman who accused President
MS
Trump
Now and NPR.
of sexually
Ooh.
abusing her when she was a minor. MS Now reports the woman was interviewed by the FBI at least 4 times, but only documents concerning one of those interviews were made public in the Epstein files release. And this morning, we're learning more about how the DOJ was tracking those types of memos before this document release. Let's bring in MS Now senior legal reporter Lisa Rubin and former federal prosecutor Barrett Berger. Lisa, you are all over this. What are you learning now?
Well, Anna, this morning I was looking to see whether the Department of Justice posted any new documents this morning regarding the alleged victim that we reported on yesterday. We thought maybe our reporting and that of NPR and an independent journalist named Roger Sullenberger might have changed what they were willing to post. I didn't find any new documents about the woman who accused both Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump of sexually assaulting her when she was 13 or 14 years old back in the 1980s. But what I did find absolutely stunned me, and that's a January 4th, 2026 memo from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. I just want to situate the date for you and our viewers. December 19th was the congressionally mandated date for compliance with the Epstein Files Transparency Act.
Congressionally mandated.
Deputy Attorney General Blanche is writing a 9-page memo to people at
What
the
does that
department
mean?
who were charged with doing the first level review of documents for production. And one of the things that the Deputy Attorney General instructs them to do in this memo is once
Congressionally
they
mandated.
determine that something is responsive to one of the 9 categories that Congress mandates they need files for, he says there are some types of documents that we want you to particularly flag or tag while you're going through them in the electronic database, and one of them is something called a 302. Barrett knows this well as a former federal prosecutor, but a 302 is the form that the FBI uses to memorialize interviews. That's the exact kind of document that we reported yesterday was missing with respect to this particular accuser.
That is so interesting. And now we have a response from the DOJ as they are facing more and more questions about where these missing files are, why they're missing. And in a nutshell, their response is nothing to see here, saying anything that's been removed is for redactions to protect victims and would be promptly restored. And, quote, all responsive documents have been produced unless a document falls within one categories: duplicates, privileged, or part of an ongoing federal investigation. So the question I have, Lisa, is...
You got it, Chatter. They all need to be prosecuted. Yeah. What the hell is happening here? I have not turned on the news and talked one day and heard of anyone getting taken down for the Epstein files in America. Everywhere else, they're like, oh, UK? The former prince has been taken out.
Do we know what category these specific documents would fall in, if that's the reason given for withholdings? And did they address specifically these documents we're asking questions about?
No, they did not. And in fact, I think the statement that you're referring to talks about documents that are deleted. Here, what we are discovering doesn't lead us to believe that any documents were suddenly published and then deleted. I want to be really clear. We don't believe that they were ever published as part of the Epstein files to begin with. And as for the categories that you're talking about, there is nothing in an FBI interview memo that could be considered privileged. There's nothing in an FBI interview memo that could be considered a duplicate. When the Department of Justice is talking about duplicates, they're usually talking about email chains. The obligation is to produce the most full version of that chain and not the first version of the message. It's just not, cognizable to me why it is that they withheld these.
Barrett, so much of this is out of the ordinary, to say the least. But how would other or prior DOJs handle a situation like this?
Yeah, I mean, when you look about producing case files, even in the routine run-of-the-mill case, what you would look to do and expect from any interview of a witness or somebody that was involved in the investigation, you would expect at the very minimum for there to be 2 documents. Handwritten notes taken by the agent who was conducting the interview, and then, as Lisa said, a memorialization of those. In a formal 302 report, if you're dealing with the FBI, each agency calls them something slightly different. At a bare minimum, every witness interview should have those 2 documents. So in, a drug case, any kind of a case that I was prosecuting, the first thing I would do as the prosecutor was to make sure that for every witness, each time they were interviewed, you would have those 2 documents. And just to be clear, every time a witness is interviewed, there's a new set of both of those documents. It doesn't matter if the witness is telling the truth. It doesn't matter if you go in there and within the first 30 seconds you think, I don't believe anything this person is saying. You still have to memorialize that, and you still have to produce that. So the fact that we have the absence of these documents, that, by the way, it seems were produced at least in connection with Maxwell's trial, is really glaring, and something that's pretty obviously glaring and would be to anyone who's prosecuted any kind of a case.
I want to play some of the comments we're hearing from Epstein survivors, who many of them were guests at the State of the Union last night. Take a listen.
We can choose accountability, and we can choose to build a country where no one, no matter how wealthy, connected, or politically insulated, stands above the law. Today, we are here proudly representing our sister, Virginia Roberts Giuffre. Standing with members of Congress and with survivors across the nation and across the world.
Back then I was a teenager, but I was really a child. I was looking for an adult to help protect me from what felt like monsters, only to find that the monster was him all along. Now I look to the government for help, and they're no better. Gaslighting and manipulating victims, the same tactics as Jeffrey and Ghislaine. How can anybody feel safe in this country when our president's sympathies are going to the former Prince Andrew and not to survivors?
Exactly.
I just keep thinking,
I know, right?
How does what they are saying...
I'm sending my sympathy to Prince Andrew.
Compared to how
he literally said that. Wrongly convicted. He had nothing to do with those little girls. He's disgusting, man.
victims are usually treated by federal prosecutors and the DOJ more broadly?
I have never seen victims treated like this in any case that I prosecuted that had identifiable victims. I mean, just to break it down, right? They have been just left out of the justice side of this on every single turn. You know, first having information about themselves revealed that was not redacted, their names, nude photographs of them, things that we've heard from them that they never thought would ever see the light of day.
Yeah.
To have that included in the production, and then at the same time to have, you know, interviews that they conducted, reports of those interviews not included, it leads them to wonder who's in charge of this, who's making sure that this actually is a complete and comprehensive investigation, and most importantly, who's looking out for them, who has their best interest, because right now it doesn't seem that anyone's really focusing on them or giving this case the type of attention they should deserve.
You would think. Next.
Joining us, former advisor to Mark Zuckerberg, an early investor in Facebook, Roger McNamee. Roger, good to see you.
It's good to see you, Katie.
So, are these apps intentionally designed to addict?
Well, their own internal documents say that that's exactly what happened. I mean, thanks to Frances Haugen and a bunch of other whistleblowers, we have access to literally hundreds of internal Facebook memoranda, reports, research reports done by their scientists. They confirm absolutely that not only that the products were designed to engage children and teenagers in harmful ways, but that every single time Facebook had an opportunity to fix the problem, it actually made it worse. And on the merits, Facebook has an enormous problem here because it's its own, or Meta has a problem because it's its own internal research that is being used against it, exactly as was the case with the tobacco companies.
Yeah, and by the way, that internal document you just referenced is being shown to Mark Zuckerberg right now. We've got somebody inside the courtroom, and it includes a mention or more that teen use is included in the strategic goals. Increased teen use of Instagram is one of the strategic goals. Zuckerberg was asked about that. He said it was discussed, but not a goal.
That's obviously not true. The original design of Instagram was built around a concept called filters. And filters were designed to make people look better on a computer than they are in real life. And for teenagers, this is a huge problem because teenagers are very image conscious and they're very competitive. And so what Instagram did literally from its first days is it made children more stressed out, and it effectively increased depression, anxiety, and bullying. And that was the original design. That's the company Facebook bought in 2011. And I would just observe that going forward, you know, Zuckerberg's problem is that it's his own data, his own research that's being used against him. And it's not a he said, she said thing. It's a we said thing. And, you know, the question is, are we going to hold him accountable? I first came on your air talking to you 8 years ago about this topic. And nothing has happened in those 8 years. So I'm very hopeful that in a court of law, with it.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. In the longest State of the Union in recent history, President Trump hailed his economic record over the past year, claiming the country's entering a golden age, but resistance to his presidency keeps growing. In one of the most heated moments, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar of Minnesota shouted out to Trump, "You have killed Americans." Omar represents Minneapolis, where federal immigration agents recently fatally shot Renee Good and Alex Pretty. Omar's remarks came as President Trump launched an attack on immigrants.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
At another point in his State of the Union, President Trump lashed out at Democrats and accused them of trying to destroy the country.
Look, nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy. Amazing, incredible. Boy, oh boy. We're lucky we have a country. With people like this, Democrats are destroying our country, but we've stopped it just in the nick of time, didn't we? Huh?
Earlier in the evening, Democratic Congressmember Al Green of Texas was removed from the chamber after he held up a sign that read, "Black people are not apes."
That's a good picture, though.
He spoke to reporters after his removal.
I attended the State of the Union address, knowing that the president would come in and that he would have to pass by me to get to the podium. And I wanted him to know that portraying the President Obama and First Lady Obama as members of the primate family is not only unacceptable, it is something that is deplorable and something that we will not tolerate. At least I will not. And I wanted him to get close to someone who could tell him to his face. And I did. And judging from the look on his face as he turned away quickly, he was at a moment of vulnerability because he's not confronted by people who are willing to speak truth to him.
Many Democratic lawmakers boycotted Trump's address and took part in a People's State of the Union at the National Mall. This is Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen.
We have a president who seeks not to build a more perfect union, but one who wants to tear it down. And a president who said he would stop wars, but instead is responsible for war crimes and, as we speak, is threatening more wars. We need to stop him. We are gathered here because we know that we cannot pretend that any of this is normal, and that we will not and must not pretend that this is business as usual. We must get in the way of Donald Trump's march toward fascism.
Put your bodies in front of the machines, in front of the mechanisms.
Spanberger, who is a former CIA officer, gave the Democrats' official response to the State of the Union.
They have ripped nursing mothers away from their babies. They have sent children, a little boy in a blue bunny hat, children to far-off detention centers, and they have killed American citizens in our streets. And they have done it all with their faces masked from accountability. Our president told us tonight that we are safer because these agents arrest mothers and detain children. Think about that. Our broken immigration system is something to be fixed, not an excuse for unaccountable agents to terrorize our communities.
Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger was speaking from the House of Burgesses Chambers in historic Williamsburg, Virginia. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. I'm just a fucking...
So here we are. 4 students are getting the axe. 6 organizations are getting the axe for standing up this semester and for fighting for these things. They're getting the axe not for what they did, but for what we have done. They spoke for us. They were part of us. They have been singled out, and they're going to be chopped off.
We were told the following. If President Kerr actually tried to get something more liberal out of the regents in his telephone conversations, why didn't he make some public statement to that effect? And the answer we received from a well-meaning liberal was the following. He said, would you ever imagine the manager of a firm making a statement publicly in opposition to his board of directors? That's the answer. Well, I ask you to consider, if this is a firm, and if the Board of Regents are the Board of Directors, and if President Kerr, in fact, is the manager, then I tell you something, the faculty are a bunch of employees, and we're the raw materials. But we're a bunch of raw materials that don't mean to have any process upon us, don't mean to be made into any product, don't mean to end up being bought by some clients of the university, be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone. We're human beings. There's a time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all. There's a time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
And turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org.
That's my favorite clip, I think, of any State of the Union address, I think, ever. Where he's like, oh, you're winning so much. And you're like, no, Daddy, no more winning. But yes, you're going to have more winning.
Because he's personifying
more winning!
The people that are against him in that. Or like his whiny supporters. Not even the people that are against him, his whiny supporters.
Yes. Oh, Daddy, there's so much winning. Oh, you're going to have more. He really is. Let's play that clip again. Because it is absolutely fascinating, the dynamic he has. This is for his pure authoritarian followers. Not the ones who are like, he's a jerk off, but my taxes are down to like 2% now. This is for the people who worship him, the people who like, we can say the R word again. We have permission now.
Yep.
Like, we're culturally winning. Understand, that's like what his whole thing is. But they need the permission structure.
Got a pee chat.
Right? Like, if people felt really strongly about saying the R word, they'd go out and do it. But they want the permission structure. They want somebody, and a lot of this comes out, like, there's a reason why 86% is the number that Trump wins evangelicals by. Because they are all built, their minds are melded, or I should say constructed and molded to seek out a higher power that tells them what they can and cannot do. And it's not just God, because it goes through the pastor to the father, to their father. And so these are the people who are responding to. Now, just imagine those are the people. And what this is like, oh, Daddy, you've given so much. I can't take more. You will. Go ahead.
Really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much. And I say, no, 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 you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, to prove that point.
That's all we need as he gets all riled up. I mean, honestly, like, you can see him with a belt in his hand.
Yeah.
And just spanking some of these people on the ass. Now, the problem is that there's also normal people who exist in this country who are not right-wing authoritarians.
Aren't looking for a spank from daddy.
The academic studies
Johnson.
show that it's only exactly. Clinical research shows 25% of North Americans are right-wing authoritarians, and that means that there's 75% of the population who are not. And it seems like even though more Republicans, I think about 10 to 15% more Republicans were surveyed because they tend to watch a Republican president more, and it's the opposite, I imagine, during a Democratic president, they did not react so well to the speech.
David, what did they say?
Yeah, well, I just want to take a moment here to explain. This is a poll of speech watchers, so it is not a poll that is reflective of the population overall. And what we know about people who tune in to State of the Union addresses, they tend to be fans of the president, whichever president is giving the speech. So the polling universe here is about 13 points more Republican than the overall population usually is. So just keep all that in mind as we go to the results of our instant poll. Get this reaction from those that watched the speech tonight. 38% said they had a very positive reaction to the speech, 25% somewhat positive, 36% negative. So roughly 2/3 in the positive territory, 1/3 negative among speech watchers. How does that very positive number stack up against previous addresses? Well, look here. It's about 6 percentage points lower than Donald Trump was at with the very positive score last year. He was at 44% very positive reaction last year. This year, 38%, even though the universe of speech watchers was actually even a bit more Republican than it was last year. And we also took a look at that very positive...
Pause it for 1 second. Leave it up there. Leave the numbers up there. I just want you to... The poll should have reflected more positivity than last year, except for it's 6 points lower. And then it's just sky high worse than it was against Trump. I mean, relative to Trump in 2017, 2018, and 2019. Like, his own people, all he has left are those who want their asses whipped by his belt. That's it. Go ahead. Keep it.
Action here compared to previous presidents in this midterm year. So in 2026, this year, tonight, 38% very positive reaction. Joe Biden 4 years ago, 41% very positive reaction. That was the year Democrats lost control of the House. You see Trump in 2018 was at 48% very positive when his party lost control of the House in his first term. So you see here, again, Donald Trump is at the bottom of this. I think these polls, even by fans of the president, people who tuned in to watch tonight, and he gets a 2/3 overall positive reaction, I still think you're seeing his overall trouble in the polls these days, which is that he's at a low point, even compared to a year ago when he gave his speech to a joint session.
Let's bring...
It's not just him. There is a universe. I know this is highly unlikely and completely speculative on my point, but there is a universe where Donald Trump gives a speech that people don't find objectionable. He's given one or two of those, I feel like, in his career that I can remember, where I'm like, oh, he's trying to dial it in.
If he was normal, this is what it would have been like.
Yeah. They have a recipe, which is all we need to do is, and Benny Johnson's a good example as anybody. We just need to give Benny Johnson clips that he can run to his people. And it doesn't matter if we lie, because we're just putting it into the content machine. And these guys are just complete water carriers. And remember Benny Johnson going around with Kristi Noem? I think it was mostly like when they were out, like what, in L.A. or in Portland? In Portland. And he was trying to do this, great documentary about how ICE is really, and it backfired. Yeah. It really backfired.
It's mostly just a story about how a building wouldn't let her pee.
Exactly. And but also, like, they're on the roof looking down at the sort of masses of people, and it was like a guy in a chicken costume or something. I think that's what that's what their formula is. They don't know how to break from it. Here's Donald Trump, like, of all the things that he could choose.
Significantly. Just hold on a little while. We're getting it down. And soon you will see numbers that few people would think were possible to achieve just a short time ago. Nobody can believe when they see the kind of numbers, and especially energy, when they see energy going down to numbers like that, they cannot believe it. It's like another big tax cut. I'm also confronting one of the biggest ripoffs of our times, the crushing cost of health care caused by you. Since the passage of the Unaffordable Care Act, sometimes referred to as Obamacare, big insurance.
I'm sorry, do we
search for beef prices here?
We had the wrong timestamp on that. Although, I mean, he's talking about inflation there, and he's talking about health care. Republicans have been trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act for 15 years. The only thing that they have managed to do is to kick people off of Medicaid. And they have no plan. I mean, their whole plan is we actually have a clip of what their health care is. We'll get to that in a second, but here's the other.
The cost of chicken, butter, fruit, hotels, automobiles, rent is lower today than when I took office by a lot. And even beef, which was very high, is starting to come down significantly. Just hold on a little while. We're getting it down. And soon you will see numbers that few people would think were possible.
Okay, there we go. We just missed it by a bit. Part of the reason why I think he stumbled on significantly is because of this chart. This is number 3. And this chart shows that it has not. This is the average price of ground beef. This is from the U.S. Labor Bureau of Statistics via FRED, which I think is the Federal Reserve something. That does not look like a significant drop.
No, it doesn't. Actually reminds me of the 14 Blue Chew ads we're getting on Rumble.
Right. we went to Rumble and we had 6 viewers and it played like a 45-second Blue Chew ad.
All the people in it were AI.
There we go. It's yeah. This is like this could very well put it back up. It's like a Blue Chew ad. The price of ground beef. Honestly, I would be afraid to snowboard down that, and I would be terrified to even having to walk up anything that had that type of incline. So there you go. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone
to deal with a very complex problem. And first of all, it's the way, let's just talk about the immigration thing. The way it looks is horrific. When you're just arresting people in front of their kids and just normal, regular people that have been here for 20 years, that everybody who has a heart can't get along with that.
No.
Everybody who has a heart sees that and goes, that can't be right. That can't be right. That can't be the only way to do this.
Right.
Because you have to think, look, yeah, we have to have a border. Yes, it should have been secure. Yes, they should make sure you know who everybody is before they get in.
Yeah.
But when people have been here for 20 years, like, come on, man. That's crazy. Like, let's find a way. If they've been productive members of society for 20 years, no criminal record, they worked the entire time, they paid taxes, find them a pathway to citizenship. Find a way where you can do this thing that you want to do, which is keep terrorists and cartel members from getting across the border with drugs that kill 100,000 people a year. Okay, but also have a fucking heart. Because if you don't, you're not going to get anybody on your side. If you're doing this stuff publicly, throwing women to the ground, handcuffing people, just for existing on the wrong side of the dirt.
On my first day, I received secretive orders to teach new cadets to violate the Constitution by entering homes without a judicial warrant. For the last 5 months, I watched ICE dismantle the training program, cutting 240 hours of vital classes from a 584-hour program. Classes that teach the Constitution, our legal system, firearms training, the use of force, lawful arrests, proper detention, and the limits of officers' authority. For example, they ceased all of the legal instructions regarding use of force. This means that cadets are not taught what it means to be objectively reasonable, the very standard which the law requires them to meet when deciding whether or not to use deadly force. Our jobs as instructors are to teach them so well that they can make split-second decisions about what they can and cannot do in life or death situations. Yet, in the name of churning out an endless stream of officers, DHS leadership has dismantled the academic and practical tests that we need to know if cadets can safely and lawfully perform their jobs.
Why not reopen the government?
Well, let's remember, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. To the extent there is ever a shutdown, as was the case with the 43-day Trump Republican shutdown in the fall.
They cannot move forward out of a shutdown without Democrat votes. They can't do it. You guys have got to vote with them.
So let's talk. Okay, so let's talk about that. Our basic value proposition is that taxpayer dollars should be used to make life more affordable for the American people, not to brutalize or kill them.
Get this weak. I don't care what he says. Get this weak guy out of here.
Alex
As part of this shutdown. And those are tragic cases that are being investigated and must be. We need answers on that. But
I'm happy to
ICE is not going
respond.
to shut down.
I'm happy to respond if you give me the opportunity to respond.
So it seems as if Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats are finally understanding that we need to be the complete polar opposite of what Republicans are when it comes to ICE. We need to be talking about getting rid of them, abolishing them.
Abolish ICE.
Hakeem Jeffries isn't quite there yet. At least he's going around and saying that our tax dollars should not be spent on this.
So
come on.
We believe that
You're
this
gonna give him a
moment
pass?
should be used to make dramatic changes to ICE that are bold, that are transformational, and that are meaningful, that include lifting up the Fourth Amendment and ensuring that judicial warrants are actually required before ICE agents can break into the homes of the American people. We believe there should be independent investigations so that if ICE breaks the law, state and local authorities can investigate and prosecute them, as is the case with every other law enforcement agency in the country. We believe that sensitive locations like houses of worship, like hospitals, like schools, and like polling sites should be protected. These are basic common sense demands that have been laid out. And unfortunately, rather than dramatically reform ICE, the administration has decided to shut down FEMA, shut down the TSA, and shut down the Coast Guard.
Now, he still seems a little bit reluctant to fully put out the language that's needed. You know, he was recently on a podcast talking about how he's going to use the language that he wants and other people can use the language that they want.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
But clearly he understands that in order for the Democrats to not just win in the midterms, but to hold on to power going forward, we have to make sure that we're the antithesis of everything that the MAGA administration has stood for.
The Latino vote. This is another stunning change for the president. This is 1 year ago. If you look up on the screen, 1 year ago, February of 2025, 41% with Latinos. Now it has literally plummeted to 22% approval rating among Latino voters.
Yeah, and that was really one of the big questions from the 2024 election, was whether the support that the president had gotten from Latino voters will hold. We started to see some cracks in that coalition, thinking back to the New Jersey governor's race, where Mikey Sherrill made up a lot of ground with the Latino voters who had shifted towards President Donald Trump. But there's frustration within the Latino community about those same issues troubling everyone, cost of living and the economy, but also the approach to immigration. election. And so it'll be interesting to see if there is any way for Trump to kind of gain that type of ground back, but also what it means for other Republicans. I'm thinking about all those districts down in Texas where you have large Latino populations that they felt were shifting towards Republicans. That may not exactly be the case in the next midterm election.
Listen, one of the things that I point out frequently is that at the end of the day, obviously ICE is not needed. We haven't had them for very long. But at the end of the day, they're simply not fulfilling their promise of mass deportations.
Doesn't even matter, bro.
Both Joe Biden and Barack Obama.
Doesn't even matter, bro. Like, look, it's abolish ICE or nothing.
Wrong. Successfully kick more migrants out of this country than the Trump administration, largely because the Trump administration is completely incompetent and they suck at everything. Now, what they are...
What, bro? What are you saying? TYT's getting so weak, bro.
Are good at doing, obviously, is the optics and, also, you know, shooting American citizens and taking their lives, brutalizing people who don't deserve to be kicked out of here, you know, just everyday workers, people who have been here for decades, doing this in front of people's children, all the while they're not even successfully kicking more people out than Democrats did. Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, Barack Obama and...
So his take is, well, you know, they're saying they're doing a good job, but they aren't doing a good job kicking out the illegal immigrants. Meantime, he's got a Batman poster behind him.
Joe Biden are completely without blame? Obviously not. But at the end of the day, for all the brutalizing that's happening, you're not fulfilling your mission. And so why are we spending billions and billions of dollars on ICE? Why are we filling their coffers? Why are we filling their ranks with these losers who wear Chuck Taylors and who have never had jobs in their lives? I don't know what they've done, but at the end of the day, they wear masks because they know that they don't want to be exposed for this, because it's not a good look to be part of the Gestapo. So, you know, Hakeem Jeffries, we got to keep pushing him. We got to keep pushing him. Maybe we need to vote him out of office. That's not totally my decision to make. But we got to keep pushing the Democrats into the right direction, because, yes, we're going to win the midterms unless something catastrophic happens. And almost certainly there's going to be a Democratic president in 2028. But that doesn't mean the fight is over. And that doesn't mean that automatically the Dems are going to do what's necessary, because, as we know, they often and usually do not.
Hello, everybody. David Schuster here. Thanks for watching. If you found this reporting and commentary valuable, do us a favor and tap the like button. For more content like this, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell.
I actually didn't like it. I think that was a shoddy report. I think he dug us slightly into it, and he's using the wrong language, and he's obviously been indoctrinated by Uncle Jank. It's over for my friends at TYT, folks. What am I going to do? What am I going to do, boys? What do we do? I used to love them so much. They were so good. TYT used to be the shizzle. What happened? It was my go-to, man. It was two. It was two go-tos. It was Democracy Now! And TYT. Those are the two shows I would watch every day, and those two shows are one of the reasons I can sit here and yap at you actually today and even have any semblance of being a news channel. So
that way you'll be notified on your YouTube homepage when we drop
it's sad when they end up on the other side.
If you're tired of corporate spin and want honest, people-focused news, click the join button below and be part of the fight for a better future.
Sure, dude. The fuck?
Leave.
Okay, let's go to the next video.
And so we begin.
Yeah, well, why don't we go around and give our initial thoughts before we dig into it. I will say there are a couple things that I thought were extraordinary that you wouldn't see in other State of the Unions unless they were Donald Trump's. The first, of course,
there's a couple of things.
Just the unrelenting bigotry, the lies, the attacking of one group specifically, the Somalis.
Okay, yeah. This is your friend. Remember, this is someone you used to be friends with. Look, Joe has hung out in the same circles as Trump. Okay, he is a Trumpite. Okay, he can redeem himself, but like, Jesus.
All the Americans, that's the sort of thing that, I'm not going to talk about.
You call your friend up, bro.
Nazism, what. You just read history and see what type of regimes will pick one or two groups and blame all of America's ills on those groups. That's one of the things that the president did. Another thing that he did was generally talking about immigration. Again, it's un-American. It goes against what the Republican Party has always stood for. It's gone against what Ronald Reagan stood for. And this continued lie, and it is a continued lie by this Republican Party, and they know they're lying when they continue to suggest that immigrants commit crimes at a higher rate than those who were native-born Americans. And every study, one study after another study after another study shows this is a tired lie, and yet you have an entire party that seems in large part based upon this of lies. It's not even a fact check. It's just a straight out lie because everybody knows watching, everybody knows speaking, everybody knows in the audience. They understand Donald Trump is lying when he's saying that the price of meat is going down, the price of groceries are going down. They know he's lying when he says that he inherited inflation at 9%. No, he inherited inflation at about the same rate that it's at right now. When Joe Biden left office, it's about the same as where it was there. Also, the idea that you're going to have J.D. Vance, who's going to investigate waste and fraud and abuse and corruption when his family, Donald Trump's...
Yeah, I'm putting J.D. in charge of fraud and corruption because he knows a lot about it.
Family has made at least $1.9 to $2 trillion
Oh my God.
Personally since he came into office. And this whole
He's like, that's right. You got to put the guy in that knows about what he's going to do. You got to put the gangster in with the gangsters. You got to put the fraudsters in with the fraudsters so they know how to take them apart.
whole idea about no stock trading, add up all the money. And by the way, I've always been against members of Congress trading stock. That's absolutely insane. But even add up right now all the money that they've made. It doesn't come close to the amount of money that Donald Trump has made himself personally, put in his own pocket over the past year. So you see that and you go, well, that's kind of interesting. And Willie, I've got to say also, the election conspiracies, he continues it. It's one thing for him to be doing it out on the campaign trail, lying day in, day out, lying day in and day out. Election conspiracies. There's no way Democrats can win without this cheating. He says it all the time. He said it in Georgia all the time. You've got a Republican in Georgia that said, no, that's not right. You've got a Secretary of State in Georgia, Republican says, no, that's not right. The same one that Donald Trump tried to cheat and get the 11,000 votes to win Georgia back in 2020. He keeps saying that every day, and every day Democrats are winning by 30, 40, 50, 60 percentage points in races across America. We saw it again last night while this was going on. So, there was a broadcaster that said the speech was extraordinary. Yes, it was extraordinary. It was extraordinary for many.
Yeah, is he going to say it was fascistic? Because it was so fascistic. I mean, I am fucking dying. I was dying. Like, I couldn't even watch it yesterday.
Reasons. Most of them he did shit.
Boring, too.
No sane president would ever do. It was really, really crazy to be watching that in a State of the Union address.
Yeah, and it was long, too. The longest State of the Union in American history at 1 hour, 47 minutes, almost 2 hours long, broke his own record, by the way. The election lies, it's a tick that he can't get past. We heard it in the
I don't think they like me very much.
He said it again. This should have been my third term, he said, suggesting that somehow the 2020 election was stolen.
I don't think they like me
very much. It does strike you watching
much.
that address in the House chamber. That's the same House of Chamber where his supporters stormed and attacked and occupied on January 6, 2021. And he since has pardoned all of those people and tried to turn the page and whitewash history on that event. You mentioned the Somali attacks. He called Somalis living in Minnesota, quote, Somali pirates who have ransacked Minnesota.
Holy
Talking
shit.
about Somalis and Somali Americans living in the state of Minnesota. Also just leaning into his weaknesses, talking about the economy, on which he is very, very unpopular right now, saying the economy is at all-time highs, as if just saying it makes it so. We know that's not true, and we're going to walk through the details of what he was fabricating in that speech last night. Also talking and celebrating about his immigration crackdown, deeply, deeply unpopular in this country right now, including among many Republicans and certainly among independents, suggesting that it had been a success. And then for me, Joe, on the question of tariffs as well, didn't have that confrontational moment with the Supreme Court justices who were sitting there on the front row. He did criticize the decision without going so far as to ripping the Supreme Court as he has in the past several days. But interesting that, as he said, I don't need Congress to do tariffs. I'll do it on my own. The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, leapt to his feet in applause.
Yeah, disgusting.
To support the idea that the President of the United States does not need Congress, perhaps not just on tariffs, but on anything anymore.
Yeah, Mike Johnson getting weaker by the day. It's like the
bad.
final Harry Potter. He just kind of keeps shriveling up. It's
I'm
getting
here for all you
sadder
sound
and
junkies.
sadder
I got
If
you.
you listen to the words that he said, I will say it's very interesting. David French, I saw, there are a lot of people saying, oh, they're going to attack the Supreme Court. He's going to attack the members of the Supreme Court. We're there. I saw Amy Coney Barrett and looked at Amy Coney Barrett while he was speaking, and I thought, that's a woman I probably wouldn't cross.
Yeah.
she's
serious about what she does.
She's tough and she's serious about what she does, as are the other members of the Supreme Court. But it's interesting, he chose not to attack them, chose to be polite. It was very interesting a week after he said that they were owned by foreign interests.
Yeah, that was interesting. Supreme Court justices, as you indicate, they're fine. They can handle it. They can take this. And you know what demonstrates that more than anything is their actual opinions. I mean, one thing that is so important about the tariff case, I don't think has gotten enough attention, quite frankly, is that this was an opinion with 3 justices nominated by Republicans, including by Donald Trump, 3 justices nominated by Democrats. So it's not a partisan kind of issue. And it demonstrated that there's a branch of American government that will show independence, and there's a branch of American government that will retain principles when most people are just devolving to worshiping power. And I think that was a really important moment for the American people to see that this is what an actually independent branch of government looks like. And if they can do that, they can absolutely handle whatever Trump is going to throw at them there in that room. And, I'm actually glad it wasn't as intensely personal and vicious and biting as it was before. But I think they walked into that room knowing it could be.
What is he talking about?
At its most simplest level, last night was President Trump's biggest audience he will see all year. National audience, millions of people watched. And he came into last night reeling. We went through the polls in great detail yesterday about how his approval rating has slipped. Overall, it's slipped among independents. He's grown very weak in what used to be his strengths, the economy, tariffs. I can't imagine he changed a single mind last night. I can't imagine he won over a single voter last night. And that's bad for the Republicans who will be on the ballot this November, who have to defend his
It wasn't his goal in that meeting. That was not his goal.
Some of it already, the mild but attacks on the Supreme
That was
Court
not a
are the
campaign
same.
speech.
lot
I'm
of
sorry. The
blistering
only thing it was
attacks of
campaign was
Democrats,
this
the
fucking
racist
stupid thing
remarks
about winning.
It seemed about the Somalis in Minnesota. We also
I'll
got
say
next to
the
nothing
winning
about
thing.
Iran.
That'll be great.
He's saying, yes, they can't have nukes, but otherwise just said, well, I'd like to make a deal. But it was 2 or 3 minutes right at the end of a nearly 2-hour speech where the whole world is watching this armada in the Middle East, wondering what will happen next with Tehran.
Yeah.
If this next round of negotiations does not produce a deal to President Trump's liking. And I was also just struck, frankly, it's pretty boring. Yes, it had a couple nice moments of
boring.
patriotism.
Yeah,
He saluted
exactly.
the men's hockey team. He singled out a few Americans
Why was that
absolutely
good?
who deserve to be recognized for their
What?
heroism at home or abroad.
That was a highlight for him? God, you're still... MS Now is still fucking just libs.
Broad, but it felt like a campaign speech. It felt like more of the same, Ed Luce. Like, yes, he was loud. Yes, he, was animated. I don't know, though, Ed, that it's going to change the trajectory of his presidency one bit. Be curious, your thoughts.
Jonathan, I had a lot of favorite moments in this speech, but I strongly
favorite
agree with
moments
your
in his
comment
speech.
on it being boring. Not just the length of the hour, 47 minutes, but the predictability of the lies he was telling and the stunts
lies
he was putting. There were so many lies that at one point I thought, should
There
we
was
fact check?
22 lies in the
whether
beginning,
men's
man. It
hockey
was
team really
insane.
did win a gold, because it was just sort of a flood the zone with it. Amongst my favourite moments, but I don't think this is effective campaigning, although it is campaigning, was him rolling the word affordability around in his mouth, as if it's some very strange word that the Democrats have just learned and that it isn't really a serious issue at all. I imagine Susie Wiles and others were gnashing their teeth as they watched that, because this was clearly supposed
Gnashing
to be,
their teeth,
at
mate.
least in part, a speech that set up Republicans for the midterms as serious on questions of affordability. And he didn't really do that. He told Americans that their prices are all falling, don't believe your own lying eyes, etc. He at one point said that drugs prices have dropped 100%, which would mean they're now zero.
Free.
So I can't get excited about this speech, but I guess the fact that we're so used to these torrents of lies and the whoppingness of these lies, and that it's actually boring, does say something about us and about this president.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Why the hell do you
the
brush your
character,
teeth at
the
work?
movie character that couldn't say, I was wrong, but it would just again, kind of tumble around in his mouth, couldn't get it out. Here, the president can't say the word affordability where it comes out. This is what politics is. You give a 2-hour speech, a 3-hour speech, 4-hour speech. It's going to be reduced down to a couple of seconds in campaign ads. And for Donald Trump, the ongoing problem is that most Americans say the number one problem in America are not immigrants. The number one problem in America are not all the things that he said were number one problems in America. In fact, they wildly disagree with him on election integrity and so many of these other issues. But it is affordability. And he just sort of tossed it aside, once again mocked the use of the word. So that was one problem. I got to say the bigger takeaway, though, here, and it's really unfortunate, and it's unfortunate for America. I think it's unfortunate for the president, too. He still thinks he can do this by himself. Says, I don't need Congress. He does. He does. Article 2 needs Article 1.
Yeah.
Basically, I can do this without the courts.
He needs
the courts. I mean, this is a
actually,
president. He's been president now
not
for
a bad
5
jacket.
years.
It's a little tight,
and he
though.
still hasn't figured out that the way to build a long-lasting legacy is by working with Congress, passing legislation, putting things out there that will last, that will build upon the greatness of this country. And he just can't get there. He's still saying, despite over 2 centuries of the United States Constitution that says the exact opposite, he keeps saying, I can do this by myself. I don't need Congress. If you don't get Congress, it gets swept away the first day in the next administration. It's really unfortunate that he still believes he can do this by himself.
I think it was the Fonz that you were talking about. Can't say
the Fonz that couldn't say, I was wrong.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, and I was wrong. Right.
No, I think also, there were these Democrats who chose not to come, and I can't judge it at this point because there's nothing normal about a House full of Republicans clapping for repeated lies, repeated misstatements, repeated misleading facts, and misleading attacks. Clapping for that and clapping for, in a way, it's clapping against everything that we're about. It's clapping against the Constitution. It's supporting something that is absolutely not based on what this country is about and just one person. And that's where we're at. And it's going to be an interesting few months ahead to see if Democrats can get their footing, but also to see if some Republicans ever step up and do the right
thing. And
thing.
we're going to talk about this later, too. You have actually the United States yesterday in a vote for supporting Ukraine, siding with communist China, siding with Saudi Arabia.
Huh? What?
Siding with Hungary, siding with the worst autocratic regimes on the planet.
So just throw China in there?
Chose
what?
To do that instead of supporting
How is he
peace in Ukraine. So
Huh?
yeah,
One of many examples.
It's one of many examples where Republicans they think they can duck their head and survive this by pretending that all the things that Donald Trump is saying that are abhorrent to most Americans will somehow be overlooked. It's not.
Yeah.
They need to stand up and speak out, and hopefully that will encourage the president to start working with Democrats.
There are also a lot of other things going on. And
Yep.
Can't believe he's saying encourage the president to do something. Like what? No one's going to encourage him to do anything.
All right, guys. So the other week we talked about this, but I wanted to bring this up again for you. Fact Post says Trump has signed an executive order to increase production of glyphosate, a weed killer thought to cause cancer. So Monsanto is the company, Roundup is the name of the product, but
Yeah.
you know the actual product is
Glyphosate
glyphosate.
is actually disgusting.
There's been a lot of lawsuits over the fact that this causes cancer. A lot of people have sued. A lot of people have won money. In fact, RFK was involved in these suits and won his client's money because they got cancer from using Roundup, okay? So many countries have banned Roundup. So many. Because they're taking the evidence at face value, they're acting accordingly, and they're not as bought by corporations as politicians in this country, okay? But I also wanted to show you this, ready? Major drug maker Bayer, which sells the controversial glyphosate-based weed killer Roundup, donated $1 million to Trump's inauguration last year. Bayer had never before donated to an inaugural committee. Oh, would you look at that? Bayer gave Trump $1 million, and then Trump turned around and decided to deregulate and use more glyphosate. Use more glyphosate. Increase production. Literally using the Defense Production Act to create more glyphosate. So you gave him $1 million, and shit, he's going to pay that back in spades, bro. He's going to pay that back. Best $1 million investment they ever made because Trump is the most corrupt president we've ever seen by far, and it's not even close. But this is just one thing that happened the other week. We also have other updates. You're not going to believe these. Ready? This is how over it all is, bro. This is how over it is. Ready? Quote, high levels of exposure to mercury can cause heart disease as well as severe damage to the brain and central nervous system.
Correct.
Among fetuses and babies, it can cause significant developmental delays, leading to lower IQ scores and impaired motor skills. EPA weakens limits on mercury from coal plants. So at the same time, he's green-lighting more glyphosate, letting them run wild with the cancer-causing glyphosate, right? Making the food supply more tainted for all of us. Also weakening mercury rules from coal plants. I really don't think people understand. They take for granted the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, the basic EPA regulations that make it so this country is livable, that like you would even want to live in this country. There was a time when shit, it really wasn't livable. In fact, before the EPA and Clean Water Act, we had rivers in cities that would routinely catch on fire.
Mm-hmm.
They were so polluted.
They had
Why
so
people
much
want to go back to
fucking
this is beyond me. Yes,
petroleum in
rivers would literally catch on fire because of the immense pollution. If you don't have a strong EPA, if you're not actually regulating for clean air and clean water, you know what happens? It gets real dirty, real fucking fast. Everybody had that experience living in the 80s and the 90s in California where you would, you know, there was smog. It's smog everywhere. People couldn't see shit. Then as soon as the air got cleaned up, people would look up and go, oh shit, there's a mountain there. I didn't even know there was a mountain there. That's crazy. People were breathing in that toxic smog. By the way, that takes literally years off your life. If you're breathing polluted air day in and day out, you will die much younger.
We're always talking
People
about
don't think
India.
about this shit.
Yeah, you can't see outside.
Okay?
You
So
can't even
you
see
go
the
back to a time
skyscrapers.
when the
It's
fucking
so
river's on
dark.
fire, and of course, this is a quote tweet of the same
There's
thing.
so
New York
much
Times. Breaking
pollution.
news, EPA is allowing coal-burning power plants to release more heavy metals like mercury, a powerful neurotoxin linked to brain damage. Here's
It's almost worse than the windmills in China.
Like,
your Maha agenda, by the way. The Maha.
How's the
America
Maha?
healthy again?
Yeah.
How is this making America healthy again? No, this is like do
He's
whatever
such
the
a
billionaires
fucking
want.
hypocrite.
Is what the actual plan is. Whatever the billionaires want, we will deliver. And even things that they pretended, oh, we are making America healthy with this thing. They're already going back on it. Ready? How about this one? Have you seen this one yet? Maha, you've been scammed. Anger as Trump FDA from plan to ban artificial colors in food. Experts say new labeling could deceive consumers as dangerous substances still allowed under new rules. In a further retreat from its pledge to ban artificial dyes from food, Donald Trump's Food and Drug Administration announced that it would loosen labeling requirements to allow companies to state no artificial colors, even though products may contain some dangerous substances such as titanium dioxide. They don't mean a fucking word of it, bro. I need you to understand that. They don't mean a word of it. These people are literally, their whole thing is to be beholden to industry. That's their whole thing.
Yep.
And RFK went in there and made a lot of noise, like things were going to change. We're going to make America healthy again. No, you know what he did?
Hypocrisy.
As Trump is delivering for the billionaires and the corporations.
I called this out 4 years
corruption,
ago.
Everything they want, even though it's going to poison our water, even though it's going to poison our air, even though it's going to lead to pollution, even though it's going to make it so that we die younger because of all the particulate matter that we're breathing in. What is RFK doing? Limiting access to the COVID vaccine. He's putting vaccine skeptics on the advisory panel. He fired the CDC director after just a month because the CDC director said, I'm refusing to go along with your junk science, okay? He fired 1,260 people at the Epidemic Intelligence. So next time we have an epidemic, which soon, they're not going to know what to do. They're not going to know their ass from their elbow.
Right.
Okay? He ended our support for the global vaccine program. He helped kick millions of people off Medicaid, canceled the flu vaccine campaign. He's out there trying to link antidepressants to violence, even though that's total fucking bullshit. He laid off thousands of health and human services workers. He's releasing fake AI reports that have made up shit in it. Okay? He got caught doing that. Remember that? Remember that? Now there's mass resignations because people don't want to work on him because he doesn't fucking believe in science. This is what this guy's up to. And so there is no Make America Healthy Again movement. It's turn America over to the billionaires movement. It's the corporate states of America. That's what it is. And Trump is always for sale to the highest bidder. Always. And these corporations got a shitload of money. A shitload of money. They are getting every single thing they ever thought they'd ever get from anybody ever again.
Yep.
He has made it so there isn't even a real regulatory mechanism anymore. There is no administrative state anymore. There is no EPA to do environmental protection. The whole point is they're handcuffing it so you can't do environmental protection. And meanwhile, the guy making all the fucking science decisions thinks nicotine is good for you. He drinks methylene blue, which makes his tongue blue and brain blue, by the way.
Yeah.
He's taking testosterone and human growth hormone at age fucking 60. He takes a peptide to make his skin darker. He eats roadkill. He eats roadkill and got a literal brain worm from eating roadkill, as well as bathing in a sewage-contaminated creek with his kids, which is another thing he did, and his grandkids, I think, too, by the way. So this is where we're at, bro. This is how over it is. There's no more state capacity to protect us from corporate overreach. And if there's one thing that defines the United States of America, it is corporate overreach and billionaire overreach. They get all the tax cuts, they get all the subsidies, they get all the money. Income and wealth inequality is literally worse than the Gilded Age, okay? And now there are no corporate cops anymore. The corporate cops have been murdered and buried deep underground. So now they're gonna pollute like a motherfucker. The water's not safe, the air's not safe. And people aren't waking up to this fact. They don't realize the hell that's been unleashed on this country. This is a joke of a country now. It's a joke of a country. It is a billionaire's playground. And they're acting like it.
Literally.
So anyway, congrats out there at all to Make America Great Again.
They're raiding the fucking coffers, bro.
Hope you got exactly what you were looking for. Wrong. All right, guys, that's the show, man. I love you guys very much. You guys know the drill. Everybody, please do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel. You could also click that bell icon so you get a notification every single time a video drops. You could also support Mr. Clown Friends on Substack. That link is below.
I'm still alive! Iraq Lobster!
Either way, Zach, do you want to take a look at this majority report segment?
Absolutely.
So this is the second time within the span of maybe 10 days that they've gone in on Saagar over at Breaking Points. And we love to see it because it's a hobby of ours as well. We love to dunk on Saagar. I was dunking on Saagar this morning because he was bitching about like daylight savings, like a total boomer.
I don't think they like me very much.
And here we have our good friends over at the Majority Report weighing in on some discourse. Him and the guys over at Flagrant Podcast.
I saw Saagar make this claim that it's absurd. Yeah, well, you were out sick. It's absurd that we provide education for undocumented immigrants' children. No other place in the world would do it. And it took me
That's not true.
Well, it took me 30 seconds to Google and find out that no other place in the world would do it except for Mexico, parts of Canada, the vast majority of places in the EU, certainly like
every single fucking
Britain
modern
and France and Germany and
Shit, I might have to
Jordan.
illegally immigrate to one of those places.
Hell
yeah. Dead ass. You mean I could become a parent and not go bankrupt? Hell yeah, bro. Go back to school for free.
Thailand. And I'd stopped Googling at that point.
So non-failing states. Well, I mean, even some failing states.
And
maybe.
yeah, and so I don't want to make it like I'm on but I just came across this, and I found this also rather agitating. Here is because
I found this agitating.
There's going to be a time.
This is rather agitating.
Sooner rather than later. And
yeah, I
hopefully
think it
comes
is.
While I'm still alive, and I can see it happen, where a lot of people are going to have to retcon. They're going to have to sort of like pretend they were duped.
Schultz is already doing that.
And there are a lot of people who are already starting with that project.
Retconning.
And here is one of those people.
I think what I'm the most
absolute
disgusted
retcon.
by
Yep.
was
Sagar.
the rhetorical use of a lot of principles which I really cared about. So, like, let's say, for example, anti-war and Iran, right? And it's
You fell for it.
appalling to have sat across the table from some of the people who are now currently in power,
you fall
who
for
are
it.
pushing or excusing this type of behavior, and not only that, who are either silent or actively working behind the scenes and not
Motherfucker,
stopping
you fell
the
for
obvious,
it.
like. Look, I could call it a takeover, but that's why I have to come back to Trump has agency.
And it's also hilarious because under Trump's first term, not only did we pull out of the Iran deal, one of the most hawkish actions of my entire fucking life, undoing the probably best thing Obama did, but also we assassinated Qasem Soleimani. I mean, this was one of the most
Yeah, now
hawkish,
we've taken
insane
over Venezuela, and now we're
insane sanctions. Yeah, this is one of the most hawkish,
stealing all their
warmongering
oil
administrations ever. And again,
and
that
putting
was
it in
the
a bank
first
in
term.
Saudi Arabia
Imagine
or whatever.
Still acting
the fuck is
duped.
happening?
Like, oh, I
chat?
thought Trump was going to be this dove. I thought he was going to make friends with Iran, the country who we ripped up our deal with and assassinated their top general extrajudicially. Like, what? It makes no fucking sense at all for anyone to have said. Maybe the first Trump term, if you're really dumb, but to still believe that going into Trump 2.0, I just don't believe anyone's that dumb.
100%. He literally put John Bolton in his cabinet in the first term. Mike Pompeo was running the State Department under Donald Trump. What the fuck do you mean you thought he was going to be some dumb? I can't not stand for that. I cannot stand for that because Sagar covers this shit every day. I watch him. I know he's exposed to the same news that I am. And he knew for a fucking fact Donald Trump governed like a ridiculous hawk during his first term.
Yeah.
And for some reason, he got amnesia, just like Dave Smith and all
Amnesia,
these other
more
assholes on
like
the internet. We're like, no,
brainworms.
He's going to be anti-war. He's going to, you know,
Finally ate through the rest of his matter that was in there that was thinking.
I swear, bro, Joe was fucking cognitive decline, bro. Witkoff's going to go in there, man, and he's going to end the genocide, bro. You're going to see it was just because Joe Biden was fucking brain dead, bro. Oh, no, turns out he's still a little bitch for Israel and Miriam Adelson and the fucking entire lobby. The guy that did the Abraham Accord. Are you fucking kidding me? That's what all these guys were lying to your face about.
Yeah, 100%.
He's
and
so
I've
much
said
better
before,
now.
Like, no one could have called the Greenland saber rattling. Like, Trump never talked about Greenland. That was completely out of nowhere. No one was expecting it. Same with the Canada saber rattling. Even like the Cuba thing. Like, he didn't really talk much about Cuba. But Iran, I think that is something that basically everyone could have predicted. Increased insane aggression with Iran, given what happened under the first Trump term. Again, the Iran deal getting ripped up, the assassination of Qasem Soleimani. I mean, it's obvious that Trump hates Iran. Even before he got elected, there was this lie going around that he was promoting that Iran was behind his assassination attempt. Remember that?
Yeah, deadass. And, you know, I hate to be that guy, but I still have a lot of questions about that assassination attempt.
Totally. 100%. Maybe Candace Owens
Trump has
dig into that next.
Deadass for real.
Agency. He's the one who's decided to embrace this neoconservative agenda to do all of this insane nonsense like Venezuela.
And hold him accountable
or like,
for it.
And
don't chalk it up to the deep state. He's the guy in charge.
Exactly.
And then pin his ass.
He needs to be held. But it's also about the people around him because
Of course,
I now
them
know
too.
for a fact they're not. If you take your role seriously, then you actively work for that type of principle that you ran on and that you have literally sat across the table from me, and I'm not talking about one person, I'm talking about a lot of different people here who were like, we believe this, like the United States, we should not go to war with Iran. And so then to watch,
no, you got worked because you're a mark, and they know it. They know they can feed all that bullshit to you, and you'll go out to your audience and you'll be like, trust me, guys, this time, Donald, I know these guys. I used to be boys with JD Vance, right? Let's not forget that, dude. I cannot ever think about anything else when I look at Saagar. This man chose to be personal friends with JD Vance. Shows you where his judgment's at.
Yeah, 100%. And again, like I am glad that Saagar is criticizing the Trump administration. It's not like he's letting his prior friendship with JD Vance cloud his judgment at this point.
Yeah.
But it is hilarious, again, to pretend that you ever genuinely thought this
like,
Trump 2.0 would be really anti-war. It's completely ridiculous.
How comforting was that to hear for the first time in your life?
It's not about comfort. This is a project. I believed in this project. I worked, in many cases to try and assist this project, like in not the Trump campaign, but like I'm talking about the principles,
ideology,
right? Like I have taken so much shit. I excised myself from professional Washington to go against like for the neoconservative agenda. Man, I got basically.
I went to go work for Tucker Carlson before I went and got hired by a major Trump-donating conglomerate called The Hill. No, you fuck yourself, Saagar. You worked for the man until you got a big enough profile to go independent, and then you did do that. And I admire the work that they do at Breaking Points now. I rebuked the machine. You were in the swamp. You went to like fucking Georgetown.
Yeah, and literally got his first job with Tucker.
Yeah.
At that point, wasn't even like, at the time that Saagar was working for Tucker, was he even like a fucking anti-neocon? From what I remember, that pivot occurred like not that long ago.
Yeah, no, I think Saagar was already on the Hill by the time that happened. The Daily Caller was a 100% fascist magazine, and Saagar was happy to go and fucking, oh, hey, Mr. President, I have a question for you. Yeah.
Yeah, the Daily Caller was not founded as some populist anti-neocon outlet.
Professionally canceled over Israel. It's fine. I have my show. I get to hang out with you guys and stuff. Like,
okay, great. I know you're fine. You're fine. Okay, now. If you have dedicated your life to these principles, and you mentioned Venezuela, you mentioned Iran. Let's see if there was any clue as to where Trump was on, let's say, I don't know, Venezuela. This is number 14. CNN in February of 2020. That wasn't that long ago. Here it is. Trump meets with Venezuelan opposition leader at the White House. This is about
Juan Guaido. Okay, and really quickly, we've covered the Juan Guaido shit extensively, and this is an issue where the Democrats need to be better too, because Nancy Pelosi was like meeting this fucker at the airport and walking with him and singing Kumbaya.
Wasn't he at like the State of the Union?
He was at the State of the Union with Nancy Pelosi. It was insane. This guy is the fake president of Venezuela, okay? The Venezuelan people did not elect this man. We were like, no, he's the real president, except he can't go to Venezuela because the guy that's the acting president, who has all the power and was the one that was elected by the Venezuelans. Now the fucking elections we could get into, but the fucking reality was Nicolas Maduro was leading Venezuela, and this fucking fake asshole was who the United States wanted to install. He fell out of favor with the Trump administration at some point, and he did not get installed after the.
He didn't even get a Nobel Peace Prize. Like, what's her face?
Yeah,
what a schmuck. But yeah, I mean, low-key, I wish another country would appoint us a new president, Juan Guaido style. I could go for a Juan Guaido over here in America.
Gee, just make a quick incision. Yeah. Bernie Sanders only has a few more years.
Guaido being invited to the State of the Union address in 2020. Juan Guaido was and addressed as the president of Venezuela. The only problem is he hadn't won the presidency of Venezuela. There was plenty of reports of coup attempts by the Trump administration regarding Venezuela.
Remember when he sent a bunch of like washed up, like divorced dads, and they all got arrested when they were trying to do their invasion of Venezuela?
Yeah, that was so pathetic. I was like, was this actually sanctioned by our government? It seemed so low effort.
That should have been an indication that this is a administration and a man, Donald Trump, who's interested in regime change. In fact, we heard story after story after story of guys like Mad Dog Kelly or Mattis, rather,
Mad Dog Mattis.
saying, "No,
Mad Dog Mattis." That's how you know Trump was anti-war. He surrounded himself by people who went by the moniker Mad Dog. Sounds like an anti-war administration to me.
Can't bomb this country." Or Kelly, the chief of staff, saying we shouldn't bomb
Mad
Iran.
Dog Mattis was actually the one that was like less pro-war. Like he was actually war, as Sam just said. He was so Mad Dog was actually the most pro
voice
peace.
of reason.
Yeah, the voice of reason. Mad Dog Mattis.
Or Tillis saying we shouldn't do these things. These are all not very good people, but they were the backstops from Trump's doing this. And so in Trump administration number 2, all of his fever dreams, he's surrounded himself with people who are going to do those things like, oh, I don't know, we had a deal and rapprochement with Iran, but what happened to that? Oh, this may have been secret knowledge that they posted on the White House. Trump is ending United States participation in an unacceptable Iran deal. There was no like, this was the fundamental building block. If you did not want to attack Iran, this was the building block to do so. It was probably the best foreign policy accomplishment by the Obama administration. Maybe one of the best policy accomplishments by the the Obama administration. And Trump summarily got rid of it
because of the
idiot. The thing is, Joe Biden didn't get back into the Iran deal, even though it was totally open to him. And that's something that we also have to talk about. All of this could have been at least really, made less strenuous.
I mean, Trump probably would have just ripped it up again.
Yeah, he would have, but I just feel like we would have established a little bit of something better. I don't know. I guess you're right. It wouldn't have made a fucking bit of difference, but
it's possible that Iran didn't want to get back in the deal because they were like, we're not just going to keep falling for your fucking football trick like Charlie Brown. They probably like, and that's possible. Not to let Biden off the hook, but I'm just saying it might have been a little bit. It might not have been so easy.
But I don't think that's the case, given the fact that they literally followed the Iran deal to the letter of the law until the end of the Donald Trump administration so that they could resume it when talks began. And Joe Biden gave him the middle finger as soon as he came into office.
True. I'm just saying I wouldn't blame another country for being like, well, you want to just get into this deal, get out of this deal, get it like at your command. Like they might be like, well, fuck you. We actually do clearly need a nuclear program now, thanks to the fucking saber rattling of your previous administration. We actually are trying to get a bomb. So who knows? But I wouldn't be surprised if they would have happily got back in it. They've been nothing but patient, honestly, with our fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Zionist lobby too. We should point that out as we're talking about like him as some sort of like kind of shift from I guess the Biden era Zionism and support for the genocide. No, this was just him returning to form and like doing what he was doing in the first term, which was about doing whatever the Israel lobby wanted, including moving the embassy to Jerusalem.
Exactly. Golan Heights, the annexation of the Golan Heights, the assassination of Soleimani. I mean, the increase in drone strikes during that time. I mean,
the guy, sorry, just to the Soleimani thing. We assassinated a general of a foreign country's military, and we act like he had some sort of track record that wasn't a war pig. Like, what's going on at the Hudson Institute that they couldn't get Sagar and Jetty on the page there?
And so, like, this whole retconning, like, I'm so surprised at who Donald Trump turns out to be. Really?
It's not like
Really?
Crystal Ball
Yeah,
was
well-
yelling at you exactly what would happen, fucking screaming, "This is what's gonna happen, motherfucker!" And that's the thing about Sawyer. It's like you can't even say that he just lives in an echo chamber and wasn't exposed to the counter arguments or the truth. Crystal was right there, fucking screaming at him, telling him exactly what would happen. I wonder if partially he was just like, well, the show is left right. I have to keep, being the right flank.
To be honest, I think that's probably true. I think he talked about how he's been totally banished from like
the right-wing apparatus. But I think a lot of his support for Donald Trump just was,
Poor
oh, I
guy.
want to be part of the team still. I still want to be the Republican
Yeah,
guy.
he's a
I
loser
can't be
then.
seen as, you know, attacking this guy. And I think that's true for a lot of these idiots like Dave Smith, who, you know, decided to get a part of it. Why? Because that was where there was so much fucking energy online. These guys were like, I'm going to get a massive payday if I just say nice things about Donald Trump. That's what Joe Rogan did.
Not
That's
okay.
what Theo Vaughn did. That's what Tim Dillon did. That's what they all did.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. They didn't want to miss out on the party that Joe Rogan, Dave Smith, and Andrew Schultz were all invited to.
Yeah, they keep going for a little bit longer. Do you want to keep playing it, or
I think we got the gist of
that's
the
kind of what I thought
criticism.
too.
Definitely check out the full video on the Majority Report channel, though. Obviously, they killed it, as always, savagely destroying Sagar and Jetty. And yeah, it's pretty funny to watch not only Sagar, but Andrew Schultz both act so duped. Like, what? Who could have seen this coming? These two fucking knuckleheads could have seen it coming.
Yeah.
Former ICE agent who was apparently the whistleblower who exposed the internal memo wherein ICE was communicating to its operatives that it no longer had to abide by the Fourth Amendment and that they did not need judicial warrants to crash into people's homes. He is now a former ICE agent. He may have been at the time. His name is Ryan Schwenk. He was not in an official congressional hearing, but rather a hearing held by congressional Democrats. I think they get the meeting rooms. They don't have subpoena power, I don't believe, because they don't. They're not in the majority. But this is also a preview of, in the event that the Democrats take the House in the fall, we're going to be seeing a lot more of this type of thing. And they're going to be able to bring in witnesses who are going to be a little bit hostile. This one obviously wanted the opportunity to speak about what he saw.
I am here because I am duty bound to report the legally required training program at the ICE Academy is deficient, defective, and broken. 5 months ago, I was asked to teach the law to new cadets at the ICE Academy in Glencoe, Georgia, where ICE is training its new, inexperienced recruits. I volunteered, those without law enforcement training, I volunteered to take on this assignment based on my experience in law enforcement oversight, including at the state and local level prior to my work with ICE. On my first day, I received secretive orders to teach new cadets to violate the Constitution by entering homes without a judicial warrant. For the last 5 months, I watched ICE dismantle the training program, cutting 240 hours of vital classes from a 584-hour program. Classes that teach the Constitution, our legal system, firearms training, the use of force, lawful arrests, proper detention, and the limits of officers' authority. For example, they ceased all of the legal instructions regarding use of force. This means that cadets are not taught what it means to be objectively reasonable, the very standard which the law requires them to meet when deciding whether or not to use deadly force. Our jobs as instructors are to teach them so well that they can make split-second decisions about what they can and cannot do in life or death situations. Yet, in the name of churning out an endless stream of officers, DHS leadership has dismantled the academic and practical tests that we need to know if cadets can safely and lawfully perform their job. All to satisfy an administration.
I honestly didn't need this guy to tell me that's happening, because I've been seeing it in the streets for the last 5 months.
Demanding they train thousands of new officers before the end of the year. DHS told the public that new cadets receive all the training they need to perform their duties, that no critical material or standards have been cut. This is a
lie.
This is important to understand. First off, we should say that the two ICE murderers that have the most acclaim, we know less about the other people who have been killed in ICE detention. But the two murders that have been caught on videotape, who work for ICE, both of them are longtime ICE employees. So they are not part of this next wave, who have not even received even the training that the first guys who used excessive force did. But people should understand this. The way that we had the torture scandal during the Iraq invasion and subsequent to that was not that these soldiers were ordered to torture, although in some instances they got explicit green lights. But essentially what happened was all the shackles were removed.
Correct.
All of the discipline, all of the explicit...
It was very similar.
Warnings against torture, all the explicit orders against torture were removed. That's all it takes. And then just pressure to get results. And that's exactly the dynamic that we're seeing here with ICE. We're not going to give you any constraints other than we need X amount of arrests and we need X amount of intimidation.
Right.
And X amount of officers to fill the large quotas that he's talking about, because it's instructive to view ICE not as a law enforcement agency that needs to have a certain number of personnel to do what it needs to do, but as a paramilitary force that backs up the fascist administration and is it's going to serve as an intimidating tactic at polling sites. I think we should anticipate that ahead of November, but also as just, a paramilitary force that can go onto the streets, brutalize citizens on behalf of the administration. Guy. He testified there that he was one of the two whistleblowers that received that came out and said that they'd received those administrative secret orders regarding the administrative warrants, meaning we've spoken about this before on the show, but they call them administrative warrants. They're not a warrant. It's essentially a memo that says you can violate people's Fourth Amendment rights and go into their homes. Warrants have to be signed by judges, even the ones that are like basically rubber stamped like FISA under the War on Terror. At least that had to be signed by a judge. That's it's not a warrant. They call it a warrant. It's not a warrant. And it just said, hey, you can enter private homes and violate the Fourth Amendment regardless, and made it so that those orders were only verbal. So there was no paper trail. I mean, they're obvious about how criminal this is. And then he mentioned there that basically ICE eliminated 240 hours from their mandatory 580-hour training program. And they specifically removed courses dealing with the use of force. So, and this is for the new recruits that we know they're culling from, essentially, Proud Boys and Patriot Front and all of the biggest MAGA supporters that are excited to sign up for ICE. Those are the people that receive the least amount of training. And to your most important point about this, the veterans of DHS and ICE still killed American citizens on our streets on video in front of everybody. So this should not be used to bolster the Cory Booker arguments in the DHS funding fight about more training and more body cameras. This should just underscore how horrible this new crop of ICE agents is going to be and what's coming ahead of us.
It also shows what the intention to use these. I mean, a lot of people wondered, why would you go to Minneapolis in the dead of winter?
Yeah.
And obviously there was a compulsion to go there because you have a large Somali population. Donald Trump was really jazzed up about his racism was in high gear in terms of Ilhan Omar. Chris Rufo, the CRT guy, the big Republican operative, had already started to seed the story of Al-Shabaab, a terrorist organization tied in with the Medicare fraud story, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of things there. But from almost like a military perspective, invading the coldest region of the country at the coldest time of the year does not make a lot of sense unless you want to make the deployments that everyone else is going to have come the summer seem a lot easier. And so, summer is, they are aiming for the months from like May or June through the election. That is what's going on here. And so understand the lack of training is not
gonna be bad
because they're in a hurry. The lack of training is because they don't want these people to have constraints or any type of discipline that might come with training. So that's all deliberate. Meanwhile,
that's
one of the
insidious.
things,
That's
and we're going to
insidious.
be talking in a moment to Alexandra Avina about the historical
Insidious.
context of what we're seeing in Mexico and what we're seeing go on right now after the killing of El Mencho, who was one of, if not, I think Mexico's most wanted man. And what we're seeing across large swaths of Mexico in terms of the Jalisco cartel striking back.
It's Jalisco.
One of the things we've
it's
seen
Jalisco,
from
yeah.
the right is them saying, like, this is what DHS is
right.
doing. It's keeping this element out of the country, which, of course, is absurd because we have seen ICE in action. And unless this cartel in Jalisco is made up of moms and dads and teenage kids or people who are working on roofs or, trying to get day job, whatever it is, or American citizens for that matter. It's obviously not the same people, but they are so desperate to make this connection. Here is Senator Mike Lee. Let's just see Mike Lee's tweet first, if you can just zoom in on that one. What's that? It's in all of them, but I want to just focus on his tweet first, where he writes, okay, here it is. Mike Lee shows a picture of some Jalisco cartel wearing masks at a gas station, pouring gas on the ground, and then they ultimately light it. I've seen this video. It's pretty disturbing. But Mike Lee writes, cartel hitmen wear masks. Leftists aren't complaining. Now,
that's not the point I think you want to make, buddy.
well, and it's not the point he wanted to make.
So
and many senators not known for their crap posting were able to dunk on Mike Lee. But this shows like how this is a senator. It shows how twisted their mentality
dumb,
is.
too.
Put up this, let's do the series of
So
it. Brian Schatz wrote in, Mike, I would like ICE to have the same standards as a local police department, not cartel hitmen.
I mean, to be fair to Schatz, he might be the best Senate poster of all of the Democrats, so he got him here up against base Mike Lee.
But even
Chris Murphy?
Yes. Oh, dear, Mike. I literally couldn't make our argument better than you do. The bad guys wear masks. The good guys don't.
And here's the big one.
And
oh,
Shot.
buddy, retire, Mike Lee.
Yes. Cartel hitmen wear masks. That's why ICE shouldn't.
Man.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Nailed it, says Chuck Schumer.
Oh, that's literally like getting knocked out by the smallest kid on the playground. You've got to change schools.
But even in that tweet, like, that's why ICE shouldn't. So maybe you guys should.
Suggestion.
Yes, like I feel I'm
right,
uncomfortable
criminals.
with them wearing
I don't want to
masks.
tell you how to live.
Right, exactly. It's like even in that moment, it's a
Pull your pants up and take your mask off.
There's a softness to it.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show.
fuck,
We
dude?
do it every day at 12 p.m.
All right. Next. Oh, we've got drivel for you. We got some drivel.
People have been seeing them for a long time. People have had contact, including our government. So yes, UFOs are real.
It's really a religious kind of impulse that there's somebody out there vastly superior to us that knows we're here, and that's religion.
There's a preponderance, there's an abundance of evidence that should shift the consensus now in the open source world.
Former President Obama's revelation that aliens are real caused an inevitable avalanche of speculation, especially among those who research this stuff for a living. Amid the ensuing chaos, Obama walked it back. I meant they probably exist, he said, but I don't know any better than you. Case closed then.
Right.
Until President Trump said this.
He gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. You know?
So aliens are real.
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. He made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it. Do you believe it, Peter?
Well, the president can declassify anything that he wants to, so if you want to make an announcement.
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
Well, the obvious interpretation is that if Obama gave classified information, then it must be true, and we may soon find out. The president has instructed US agencies, including the Department of War, to begin identifying and releasing government files on UFOs, UAPs, and aliens. Well, Jeremy Corbell, a filmmaker,
yeah, just like he released all the Epstein files, right?
Today, and he joins me now. Jeremy Corbell, I mean, it's all fascinating stuff for the alien layman's like myself. It certainly looked to me that when President Obama said what he initially said to Brian Tyler Cohen, he meant it. And then when there was this huge furore afterwards, he slightly reined things back. But it certainly in the moment looked like he believed aliens do exist.
Yeah, well, I guess reality is not what it used to be. You know, to see that from a president, a former president, without caveat, just saying it, and then saying a bunch of other things that were actually inaccurate. It was a powerful moment, but it was not an announcement. Even before President Trump on the plane, it was not an announcement. It was an opportunity. So any of us that have gone to Congress, have testified under oath, we see it as an opportunity. Nothing has been planned with this whole thing that we've been seeing over the last, since 2017. It's been provoked. We've provoked our government with hearings on UAP. We've forced public statements, and journalism like this, Pierce, this is has led to this change. So the collective public interest and demand is what's really gotten us here, and it's astonishing. The fuse is lit, but it's it's time to press our government, our governments.
I mean, to me, given the size of the universe, it always, to me, 100% certainty there must be other things out there. The question then becomes, have they visited our planet? And then you have the whole Roswell, Area 51, the 50s, the pictures that came out of apparently aliens being dissected and so on, and the whole conspiracy theory raging ever since about this. Let me just go through some basic Q&A with you. Do you believe aliens exist? One.
Yeah, that's not a matter of belief. It's either true or it's not true. And so I've aimed to find out. You said yourself, you didn't say it in these exact words, but it's statistically improbable to the highest degree that there's not intelligent life that has had more time to develop than us. But the big question that we couldn't ask 10 years ago that you just said is not just do aliens exist? When you look out at the stars and you see, suns with orbiting planets, yeah, of course they do. But you asked the question, are they visiting here? Have they been here? And, look, for whatever it's worth to you, I've dedicated with my mentor in journalism, who's done it for 40 years. I've dedicated 20 years of my life to this. UFOs are real. Sometimes they are occupied. This is an informed opinion. Oddly, it's not a political issue. People can handle the truth of that. And this has been a decades-long immaculate deception. And I've been told not to kick the sleeping dog. They're afraid of something about telling the public, your government and mine, under the Five Eyes Alliance. So, who are these gatekeepers? What's going on? Why haven't they told us? There's a really clear and easy answer for that. And I've been told it many times. And, I think we're at a place now Sorry for the long answer, but you asked a big question. We're at a place now where people like you are talking about it and understanding it. And that's not because you just came up with it. It's because people have been seeing them for a long time. People have had contact, including our government. So yes, UFOs are real. Sometimes they're occupied, and under oath in Congress, people in position to know have told you so. And so now we have to confront that and see what it means to be a human.
So I asked you a big question, and you gave a long, detailed answer. So, and you've raised a big question, which is, your big thing is government transparency. Why would governments be so keen to stop the public from knowing the truth about any visiting aliens? Why not just embrace it? Say, yeah, we've got this exciting thing, this alien beamed down from planet Tharg, and we're keeping it at Area 51. In other words, why make such a determined, apparent effort to suppress it?
This is such a terrestrial thing that it's almost hilarious, but people will understand it right away. During the atomic era, we created an apparatus of compartmentalization because we needed competitive technological advantage. And I think your viewers understand exactly what I'm talking about. So in that architecture of the atomic programs, suddenly
had to get my jacket.
Better
Chat.
sensor systems.
How are you?
And there was appearing to be more UAP, which is really just means UFO for people that want to know, contact. And so what they did was very smart. They utilized the atomic program's apparatus for compartmentalization because it kind of failed us a little bit during the atomic era with Los Alamos. And they said, okay, until we figure out what's going on, two things. One, national security. It's not they're trying to keep the nature of reality away from human beings. It's one, national security.
He's right about this, but then they just continue to just make everything classified.
Adversarial nation. So they had to determine that.
And there's no one unclassifying.
That this wasn't Russia, that it wasn't China, that it dates back to the beginning of recorded human history, and there's an increased interest of what we call UFOs, UAP. The second reason was strategic surprise and national sovereignty and advantage. And in fact, there was a bond between your country and mine and three others. And we decided that we're going to study this and we're going to look for, check this out, derivative technologies from exploitation programs. So I totally get it. I understand. The problem is that the reason why we talk about UFOs is because people see it.
Oh.
It's not something that they get from movies. They're in movies because people have seen them, engaged them. Our government doesn't know the full answer either. And that's the issue too. What can you tell people if you don't know the full answer? I have actually proposed to people in our government officially
let's try that.
A 4-step plan that I think is the best way to bring forward this actual truth.
So, a couple of weeks ago, you released 2 videos that were purportedly captured by US military drones in the Middle East. One of the videos appears to show 3 objects flying in a triangular pattern. Let's take a look at this, and as we're looking at it, just talk me through what we're looking at here.
By the way.
Yeah. So let me just explain to you real quick. I'll walk you through it. What you're seeing looks like Pong, the video game. You see 3 lights. What I've actually done, Pierce, with my mentor in journalism, George Knapp, is we've released 15 assets over the last number of years that have come to us to educate the American public on what thermal footage is. So you see black and white, it's heat, and you're seeing 3 objects that are emitting some sort of signature, they call it. They're in formation. Now, I'm not saying this. This is part of an archive that was leaked to journalists that comes from them that says these are UAP, and this is one example. This is one of the least interesting videos that I've released, but it shows a formation of unidentifieds, what they called, not me, our government intelligence agencies called UAP. The last one I released, that's the one
that looks like one object
they didn't want me to release. It showed one of what we call the 5 observables of UFOs that they have designated, our government and yours. And that first observable is called instantaneous acceleration. It's not traditional propulsion. So when you see something like this is to acclimate the American and global public to what military film footage looks like. George Knapp and I have released 15 different pieces of evidence. The last one was a banger. The last one, undeniably, through our government's own analysis, which is what I'm showing you, shows instantaneous acceleration, something that we know physics can do, but any human being would turn into jelly if you were able to. It's called inertia.
It's like
Look
10
it up.
Gs.
Great word. I had to learn it, right?
Fucking thing is
instantaneous acceleration
pulling
means
20
the
Gs.
G-forces would just turn the human body into jelly.
Literally to liquid.
You have at your ability now to go online and watch the government's analysis of a UFO, a UAP that they said is UAP, that instantaneously accelerates to the right if you're looking at the footage. It's supposed to be impossible. Problem is, we now see that it's not. We've theorized about it. Witnesses have explained it. Commander David Fravor in 2004 chased a UFO for the United States military and testified under oath in front of Congress that he did so, that it wasn't ours, and that they had it on radar, on lock, and it instantaneously accelerated beyond human capability. Wasn't China, wasn't Russia, wasn't any technologically known nation. So now you can see it. So that video you showed was cool, but look at the 15 assets that George and I released. Watch the last one. It's called Syria UAP 2021, Apparent Instantaneous Acceleration. And that's what our government labeled it.
This whole thing about Area 51, I mean, what is Area 51? I know it's in the Nevada desert. What does the government say is there? And how much veracity has been genuinely established about the whole 1947 Roswell crash and so on, the supposed transportation to Area 51 for reverse engineering of aliens and so on? How much of any of this has been verified at all?
Yeah, 100% of it has been verified that there was a crash, and this is historic document. There was a crash of something, and it was actually taken to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Now, the lore of Area 51, the only reason you know that word, other than Obama was the first president to ever say it, was that George Knapp in 1989 brought forward a man named Bob Lazar. And Bob Lazar said we had 9 flying saucers in a hangar at a site called Site 4 at Area 51. It's a sub-base just south called Papoose Lake. George didn't know if he was telling the truth. He said that in 1989.
Yep.
That's why you know the term Area 51 and associate it with UAP or UFOs. Where they hold these craft, these material, we don't need to guess. On congressional record, one of those locations was put in writing after by a man named Lou Elizondo. You know, it's a controversial figure, a guy that says, is he telling us the truth? He is, and he told you the truth about that. It was called Pax River. So that is one location where some of these materials were there because, Pierce, for your audience, documented by our own government and testified to in Congress, there was supposed to be a transfer from Lockheed Martin to a program called AWSAP, Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Application Program. The $22 million reported by New York Times wasn't for the group called ATIP like they reported. They got that wrong. They'll admit that to you. It was to a group run by a guy named Dr. James Lakatsky, who ran the Defense Intelligence Agency's UFO program. And he actually came on my show with George, and he admitted to the world, because he had authority to do so, and told us, he admitted to one UFO, non-human intelligence-built craft that our government has in possession. You'd think this is world news. No, just on a little podcast with me and George, only time he's ever talked publicly. So we have them. Hal Puthoff on the Joe Rogan podcast, the scientist that has worked on this for years, said we have 10 or more in our United States possession. So now you have people talking out who have nothing to gain, who are under NDAs, who have signed their lives away, who are scientists and physicists who have worked on this, told you we have them, and now you know one location. So Area 51 is kind of like the catchphrase. And there's a lot of great patriotic work being done for both of our nations at Area 51. Maybe they have a storage facility, don't know. They did in 1989, and it was called S4. And there was a man named Bob Lazar that told the world about it, and they didn't believe him until now.
Yeah.
Well, let's play the clip from Obama in which he references this.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them.
Right now, we're talking yesterday and today. There's a discussion at the Pentagon and the White House from people that work with messaging. And they're debating if radical honesty has to be the foundation of the 4 things that they're supposed to figure out how to say. One is formal admission of the known facts about UFOs, UAP. 2, formal admission of the unknowns. 3, a formal acknowledgement of UFO presence and reality, that we're not alone, that we never have been, it seems. And 4, very important, they must articulate the primary definition, or I'd say preliminary definitions to the public, their determinations to date, and the global defense concerns that have caused the secrecy in the first place. And if we achieve this over the next days, months, maybe during the State of the Union address, if they say it, it'd be amazing. If we achieve this, it's one small step, but it's a great leap for humankind. The implications are astounding. So I just want to thank you for talking about UAP like this. Some of us have fought really hard. There's a lot of us that have. Public demand is going to get us the truth. And it's going to take time. Because I think there's a song, change takes time.
It certainly does. And let's be honest, in the annals of universe history, it's actually not that long at all. So let's see what happens. I think it's fascinating that you've now got 2 presidents talking about aliens.
Gotta go, chat. Bye.